Okay, so I came back to the presentation from PowerPoint, the Forex presentation, because I want to show you this table, because in this table, what it says in here in this table, it says that in the first column, you have the quotation in terms of dollars over this rate. So it's dollars over yuan, okay? So this 1.1208, it's how many dollars you have per yuan. So the question is, can you give me the other way around? Can you give me how many yuans per dollar? So I just show you the easiest way to do it, which is 1 over the currency, okay? So 1 over 0.1208, it gives you 8.27, right? 2781. As you can see in most of the exercises and presentations that I have, I usually write 4 digits because with 4 digits, there is very low margin of mistake. Like it happens in the calculator sometimes when you do a lot of operations with, if you only take 2 decimals, you can kind of have some margin of mistake, but if you take 4, the margin is minimum. So that's why I usually take 4. So it's always a good practice to take 4 digits. So if you do this table, if you complete this table, you can do it extremely easy in Excel if you just do 1 over this, because you can turn it back exactly the way it works, like 1 over whatever you have. So here you have Japanese yuan over dollar. And if you want to know the inverse, how many dollars per Japanese yen, you can do 120.38 over, sorry, the other way, 1 over 120.38, and you will have in here 0.0083. Okay, so you will have it this, you will have solve it in the same way. This is an 8. Okay. If you do it in your calculator, you will get it. So this is just like from the presentation. What am I doing? So this is just from the presentation, from the slides. And now let's move on to something important. I will jump these slides. I will go back later because I will explain this in later, but I want to come here into the cross rate, because the cross rate is maybe the first important concept that we're going to learn in this comparison. This concept is very important. Let me explain you the origin of the cross rate. So if you think about an exchange rate, the first one that comes into your mind is probably pesos per dollar, right? So, and that's normal. That's because from the Mexican perspective, we care about our currency and we care about the dollar because the dollar is the most important currency in the world and it's also our neighbor, right? But for every other country in the world, they also care for this quote, the quote or the exchange rate with the dollar. So in every country in the world, they know the exchange rate for their local currency and the dollar. Okay, so it's very normal that someone in Japan will know the exchange rate of Japanese yen over dollar, and also someone in Mexico the exchange rate of pesos over dollar. As you can see, this quote is probably 10 years old, something like that. That's extreme. From the Mexican perspective, I think like the last time that we saw something like this was like 2000. I don't know, 12 or something like that. But the point is that you will see the exchange rate of local currency and dollar everywhere in the world. But do you know what's the exchange rate between the Japanese yen and the Mexican peso? I don't really know it. I don't have it in my head. I don't read it in the news. I don't find it in the newspaper. I need to look for it, okay? It's not that common. Do you know the exchange rate of the Polish zloty and the Mexican peso, or the Danish crown and the Mexican peso? It's very difficult, right? And it's not that common. So because of that, the cross rate exists. So sometimes it it is difficult to find, or probably it doesn't exist like you can find it on the newspaper or in the bank, that you can find the rate between the yen and the Mexican peso. So what you can do is to calculate the cross rate, which is basically just a triangulation. So if you want to know what's the exchange rate between the Japanese yen and the peso, what you have to do is just to divide the exchange rate of yen over dollar and all of that over the exchange rate of pesos and dollar, right? So by doing this division, again with the tortilla law, you are canceling the dollars, and in the end you finish with yens on top because you have yens on top, and with pesos at the bottom because you have pesos at the bottom. So in here, and write this again, this is also an important tip. Whenever you are calculating any cross rate, you need to do two things. Make sure that you have the same currency at the bottom. It doesn't have to be dollars. Usually dollars are the easiest way to calculate the cross rate because the exchange rate with dollars exists everywhere in the world, but it's not a rule. Just make sure that the same currency is at the bottom of the division. So in this case, dollars and dollars, both are at the bottom. Japanese yen over dollar, Mexican peso over dollar, both are on the denominator. And then when you divide, just make sure that you keep the currency on top, yen on top, and the one that is at the bottom, okay? So it's very, very easy. So this is the conceptual explanation. Let me make a new video with some practice.